Pandemic Christmas is here, and even virtual school is on vacation, while adults are still busy rewriting history, tearing down statues and changing street names, but quixotically engaged in only changing sign names and decorations, like decorating a Christmas tree without much thought to the history that those symbols actually represent, nor much thought about the new changes that are being proposed to replace them. And perhaps that is what you do when you're educated and enlightened and have a piece of paper for credentials that says that you're supposed to know something about everything, even if you don't. Much of what we learn about history, often we learn in school. Sometimes children are fortunate, like I was, to have parents who supplement class instruction with tutoring and will include tours of famous places in history while on vacation. And others are fortunate, like I was, to receive additional instructions on history through attendance at church, as well as in church school, where the month of February never passed by without everyone singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. And not a Sunday school class nor devotion would permit the opportunity of gathering to miss out on a moment in Black history. But perhaps that was a day long ago, passed into history, when and now today some say we can be educated virtually, entirely on the internet, even if the statistics in a current pandemic say otherwise, or so instruct. Many students of early American history recall the Black Plague of America that fell upon the city of Philadelphia in 1793, when a public health outbreak caused mostly the wealthy residents to flee. Thomas Jefferson, then the Secretary of State, wrote, "It is called a yellow fever, but it's like nothing known or read of by the physicians, the novel coronavirus of the day." During a time when the theory of disease transmission model was not like the current one, where the virus is thought to be spread by droplets when people cough, sing, or sneeze, but rather were spread by miasmas or vapors that filled the air and entered an unprotected person. Like during the current pandemic, the fear of disease caused great panic among people who did not know any better, and they began keeping their distance from each other. Yes, social distance is not new, and to avoid shaking hands. Well, I'm not quite sure if there were any reports of anybody back then trying to open a door with their feet, as we often see today. They covered their faces with handkerchiefs, perhaps lacking bandanas or face masks with logos. They dipped their handkerchiefs in vinegar or smoked tobacco, which they actually thought would prevent them from breathing in contaminated air. It's a theory, just not a good one. Those who had the means, like even Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, fled back to Virginia on fear of getting infected. But it was said that George Washington claimed that he would have stayed in Philadelphia if not for the concerns of his wife Martha and the children, a claim often we hear today from allegedly brave leaders, like the current day Tim Kaine and his wife Ann Holton, as well as Ralph Northam and his wife Pam. Alexander Hamilton, yes, Hamilton, and his wife Eliza were infected and fell ill along with their children and decided to quarantine back in New York, but not going to Manhattan, but rather going all the way to Albany to get out of the path of an invisible enemy, and were treated by their personal physician, Dr. Edward Stevens, a family friend from St. Croix, just like Dr. Ralph was treated by his personal friend, a pediatrician, a doctor for children, treating a doctor for children with a serious, highly contagious, lethal disease, only in pandemic. Dr. Rush, the Fauci of the day, believed that the epidemic could be treated by bloodletting. Imagine that. Mercurial sweating powder and forced vomiting. But he was opposed by political leaders like Hamilton, who believed that gentler methods like taking cold baths, drinking Madeira wine and hot brandy, and ingesting large amounts of quinine, aka Peruvian bark, were the solution. And many, even encouraged by Dr. Northam, took to alcohol to cure the pandemic blues. But alas, lacking a true understanding of the cause of infection or how the disease was spread, actually empirically found no more effective any method over the other in preventing the actual spread or flattening the curve of the disease, a current theme that recurs even today as we begin to address another spike allegedly caused by the Thanksgiving holidays, but not the election, with a vaccine that is on the way. Like the fear of persons from China at the beginning of the current pandemic, some grasped by fear believe that the disease was brought to Philadelphia by French refugees from a slave rebellion in Santo Domingo, now Haiti. And certainly some claim that that was because of racism. While others, including the city's leading physician, Dr. Benjamin Rush, the Fauci of the day, believed it originated in poor sanitary conditions and contaminated air of the city itself. And the city leaders began to adopt the belief that the African Americans were immune. Dr. Rush, the Fauci of the day, happened to notice that the parents would get sick, but their children would flee in fear from the parents, and their African American housekeepers appeared to be immune. So he was instrumental in convincing Reverend Richard Allen, the founder of the AME Church and the pastor of the Mother Bethel Church that still stands today in South Philly, to take on the mission of caring for the sick. But no good deeds go unpunished, and Reverend Allen and his church were accused of profiteering during a time of public health crisis, because you can never miss an opportunity to accuse the church of doing something. So, an early experience in pandemic America with yellow fever provided some instructive lessons, claiming the lives of over 150,000 during the 18th century. A lesson that was somehow not even remembered or cured by the time we took to construction of the Panama Canal. We lost another 22,000 to a combination of yellow fever and malaria. And even before the pandemic of 1918, whose lessons were even forgotten in Northern Virginia, when the mayor of Alexandria, Justin Wilson, was apparently even convinced, according to news reports, that it was not the elderly who were most at risk to a novel coronavirus, because most of the hospitalizations that he could see in the daily updates he provided to people on social media were under the age of 40, totally missing the fact that the highest lethality in the state, accounting for over half of the fatalities, were the elderly in nursing homes. Decided to host a 2,000 participant parade down Main Street, totally forgetting that a mayor of Philadelphia, a Democratic mayor, did the same thing for the Liberty Loan Parade and killed about 1,000 citizens in a week. But at least on that occasion, with Mayor Wilson, the former VHS rental salesman, was spared from the notoriety of bad ideas during a public health crisis. But Mo Selbaddine on the city council had decided that he does not want to have elderly homes in the city, and actually rejected a plan to bring elderly homes in the city in a recent city council vote. And this is what I learned in school. So whether you're hoping to find mommy kissing Santa Claus under the Christmas tree, thinking of a blue Christmas without you, got your chestnuts roasting on an open fire, or just unhappy that a drink stole Christmas, my name is Major Mike Webb, and by God, I am running for governor of Virginia. I ask every Christian, every conservative, every Republican, every Virginian, and every American to, like the motto of the infantry, follow me, and we shall overcome. Honest. And y'all come back now. Yeah.
This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.